Can you start? Thank you. Good minds think alike, or so I've heard. So I'm going to just put this over here. So today, welcome. We're going to be talking about digital and hybrid events and what that looks like in 2021. This might not be your first time hosting it. It might be your first time ever, where this is something that you have to consider. COVID has definitely impacted the way events in the world works right now. And so being mindful of that and trying to have the best events possible, especially during an event as important as National Runaway Prevention Month. So thank you for joining us today, and we're going to get started. Just move this. So National Runaway Prevention Month, or NRPM, you all are partners, so I'm under the assumption that you know a little bit about it. If not, we're going to refresh, but I'll keep it brief, understanding that you all have a little bit of an introduction to it. So NRPM, National Runaway Prevention Month, is our annual campaign we hold every November, and it focuses on elevating the issues and voices of runaway and homeless youth, understanding that this is a 4.2 million young people per year experiencing homelessness in the United States, and recognizing the scope of the issue, elevating the voices of young people who've experienced this, and highlighting the issues that impact young people in this community. It also takes time to spread awareness and educate people about different solutions that are available, resources that are available for young people, and the ways that every person can play a role in runaway prevention and ending homelessness. I'm going to continue. Like I said, I think everyone here is aware of what NRPM is. But if at any point throughout the presentation you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and I'll take time to answer them. So the first thing we're going to talk about, sorry, I clicked too many times. There we go. Sorry about that. So our objectives for today are really just to talk about hybrid events, get used to them, and what virtual events look like and how we can incorporate that into the National Runaway Prevention Month that we all know and are really excited about, to learn effective engagement and planning strategies for hybrid or virtual events, especially understanding that this might be some people's first time planning them or some people's first time participating in NRPM events. We're going to also identify some platforms for hosting virtual events and exhibits. And I think from my perspective, this is where I've heard there might be some anxiety about how do we successfully plan or how do we do this? So we're going to spend a lot of time on that. And then also talk about NRS hosted event opportunities for you to collaborate with and join us alongside. So first things first, in terms of event planning, collaboration is key, as cliche as that sounds. So we really encourage any partner to work with other local organization partners or community-based providers to have the widest net possible of young people or people in general that they engage with during their event or whatever activity they want to host throughout the month of November. And we also encourage them to do this because it's like sharing a space, sharing an audience. You might have access to each other's technology, combined budgets. Collaboration and working with each other never hurts. And it might create a lasting partnership that you might pursue in the future, either in next year's NRPM or in other creative ways for your organization. It also, if they have something planned, maybe you can tack onto that, or they can tack onto something that you already have planned based on your capacity to contribute this November, because I know everybody is working with a different time frame and with different responsibilities. And so it helps share that burden or ease the lift of creating and planning an event. And then it also gives you the chance to use resources, materials, and graphics that we have available on our website, which I'll reference later in the presentation for you. But this helps you to be able to create a very unified event that, even though it's through multiple partnerships or multiple organizations to have like a cohesive look and branding to the event. So in terms of the event plan or planning the event, think about engagement and awareness. And the first step of that is developing an outreach plan for getting started. And who do you want to contact? Who's your desired audience for this? And why do they want to know about your upcoming event? Personally, I think social media is a really effective tool for this. But depending on, again, who your audience is and who you're trying to capture with this event, your website might be the best. Or if you have a big email like Outlook or Constant Contact group, maybe that is the way to go. Newsletters that you send out, or if you want to collaborate with local partners that you're planning an event with to share out to both of your networks about this event, that could capture a larger reach. Another way to share awareness about the event is to send a press release to local media outlets. Our last partner call that we did last week was about media and PR regarding NRPM. So if you weren't able to join, feel free to watch that on our website. I can link that later if you're interested. But local, timely events are important, and media is always willing to cover that. So if that's something you think might help get people out or spread awareness about National Runaway Prevention Month, I really encourage you to either look through that presentation or where we give specific examples on how to reach out to local media, as well as our partner kit, which I think everybody should have received already. If you haven't received your partner kit, go ahead and drop it in the chat or drop that in the chat, and we can tell you either where to get one or we can send you one right away. And then to help plan or to help your guests or whoever you're planning on is attending these events, people in your audience get excited, consider doing a raffle. You can send out NRPM goodies. I know we have shirts, we have masks, prizes, whatever you think might gain somebody's interest in participating in the event or make them very excited about participating, because although it's a very serious cause and something that, I'm very passionate about, and I think all of us are, that's why we're here. It can be fun too, or we can have fun with each other and sharing awareness about this. So something that I'm really, really passionate about in particular, and it's a large part of the work that I do at NRS as Prevention and Youth Engagement Coordinator, is involving young people in these important discussions. So it's important to include young people in your programming and in your planning efforts, because like I said, the purpose of NRPM, or National Runaway Prevention Month, is to elevate the voices and experiences of young people who have experienced homelessness and listen to the perspectives and leadership that they have on these issues. And so there's many ways to do that. You can invite young people to help with the planning of your event, to be a guest at your event. You can have them be part of a panel, which encourages them to share their thoughts and perspectives. And you can encourage them to become a youth ambassador, which is very similar to our partners, or the role that partners have, but it's more youth focused. And just as we have a partner toolkit, we also have a youth ambassador toolkit, which shows, highlights different ways young people can be involved throughout NRPM, and also gives them guidance on what event ideas and how to facilitate them in our youth toolkit. If you are not sure how to reach out to young people or how to involve young people in your work, a really easy way to do that is reaching out to a local high school, reaching out to youth groups in your area, reaching out to clubs or programs that young people are involved in, and they might be able to help connect you to young people who are also interested in this work. And so this is something that I wanted to spend time talking about. Before we get started, how are you feeling about hosting a virtual event? Have you done this before? Is this something you're nervous about doing? Is this something you're excited about doing? Feel free to drop it on the chat or unmute yourself. Nervous, overwhelmed? Okay. to be honest, I wasn't expecting people to be excited and like ready. Oh, you guys host a bunch of virtual events. So there's a wide range of experiences here. So maybe this will be helpful. Hopefully, this will bring some different ideas to what you guys have already been doing, or make you think about different ways you can engage your audience for NRPM. Let's see, one more chat. Concerned about the turnout. That's fair. I think that goes back to making sure you're engaging your audience, have that outreach plan of how to contact them, how to knowing if you're going to do emails or social media, combination, newsletter, contacting your local media about this event, working with other partners in your area to see if they're already planning an event and maybe collaborating with them to build that audience out. And I think that's the beauty of virtual and hybrid events and in-person, like the beauty of the hybrid model is that you can capture people who want to go out and want to go to these events and want to feel participatory and feel comfortable doing so, but then also the people who don't feel comfortable in that setting yet. And it's a way to accommodate both needs in an engaging way. And I think what we'll talk about right now is how it can be very easy to do, how to plan easy ways to plan a virtual event and how it's accessible to small organizations or businesses or individuals who are interested in this. One more chat. Yes, we will send out copies of the toolkits again after this, or I can just link them below. But so in terms of event ideas and sample like virtual platforms, I'm just going to go through the chart with you. And so on the right-hand side, we have in-person, then virtual in the middle, and then we're going to talk a little bit about potential platforms in the last column. So an idea that I have, and maybe next year, it could be something that NRS puts into fruition, but it's definitely something accessible for you to do this year, is a movie or film screening. I put in the chat that I'm from Pittsburgh. I have an extensive history in Pittsburgh, but I'm recently based in Chicago, and I checked out independent theaters in both areas. And in Chicago, there's Logan Square Cinema, and in Pittsburgh, there's Row House Theater. And they both have really very engaged with the community and host interesting, captivating events all the time that I've been lucky enough to go to. And so I was thinking about how we can engage or use that as a venue, or use those theaters in film as a way of educating people on about like sharing experience. And I checked out Logan Square Theater, their website, and it only needed 48 hours advanced to request for a screening. And so not recommending you do it that close, but just saying that you have there's still time to plan this. So a movie that we love to recommend is American Street Kid. It's a documentary that was made a few years ago, and it highlights the experiences of young people living on the streets and experiencing homelessness and a lot of different intersections that happen. So I really recommend it, if not for this use, but for personal watching. Either way, it's a cool film. And a way to do that virtually is so you could request that to be shown at a theater and have an in-person event, hand out NRS materials or hand out materials about homelessness and the intersections of youth homelessness that you're really passionate about. But for people who might not feel comfortable going out and joining at the theater, you can use this virtual platform called Gaze, and it allows you to share a video or stream a video synchronized with other people. It's a free service, and they would be playing, pausing along with you. And so if we start gazing, you would just be able to share out this link, and that would give them the link to join. And you would all be on the same call, watching the same stream. So it wouldn't be lagging at different times. You would all be watching the same link. Another one would be a community resource fair versus a virtual resource fair. And so we've all been to a community resource fair. They're really effective about telling people and sharing out what is available in your community and how your community is already engaged on this issue, and highlighting other organizations that are involved in this work. A virtual resource fair is the same thing, but just on an online platform. And I think a lot of people, especially in the nonprofit world, have switched to virtual resource fairs as a result of COVID and all the virtual changes that have happened in the past 2 years. So I'm just going to give you a quick tour of Hopin. And so what's cool is, well, there are options for playing or for paying. For up to 100 registrants, it's free of cost to create an account. And so if you're planning on having an event and you don't anticipate to have over 100 participants, it's free. And I've used Hopin before for conferences. It's very accessible and cool to use, so I recommend it. A community leaders panel or discussion, that's easy to facilitate. I know you all know how to use Zoom because you're here with me today. So you can always use that and just have everyone else mute and have a facilitator and talk about the issues that are important or the issues impacting homeless and runaway youth in your community. When I was thinking of ideas for this event, a coworker of mine suggested that people do races, and I think that's true. So you can do a 5K race and organize it in person in a very traditional sense, or there's also options for virtual races. Has anybody done one? I haven't, but I know people who have. And this is a platform that's used. It's called Charge Running. And instead of just people recording their time and submitting it, they can download it or record it on this. And you're instantly, they are running with others in real time. It's like a global platform. Runners sign up for the race. They can set tickets. There's a countdown, a virtual starting line. So it's a little bit more engaging than just saying, run this 5K, email me what your time was. So we'll talk a little bit about it coming up, but we'll have Wear Green Day, which is an event that we do every year during National Runaway Prevention Month, green being the color of NRPM and NRS. And it's just invite yourself, your colleagues, your friends to take a photo wearing green and encourage others you know to wear green. If you're in person, take a photo all together. If not, you can make a virtual collage. If we were all wearing green today, we could just all come off or put our cameras on and take a screen share of our screen at large, and it'd be a group photo. So you can always encourage your organization or your company to do that. And you can do that on Zoom, Teams, email, whatever platform you're connecting with people and sharing photos with that's possible. And then this one I thought was very cool, and my favorite potential option was a virtual battle of the bands. And just like the race or the resource fair or the film, you can all fundraise through these if you choose to. You don't have to, but same with the virtual battle of the bands. We've all been to a battle of bands in public or in person where bands play, you listen, and then you vote for who you think was the best band. And so this is just like a fun event to raise awareness. And I think it's a little bit different than other events that might be happening. So Event Gives is a volunteer powered portal. And then you can just set up a voting event. You can load like a comedy battle. That's also a good idea, dancing. And it's $5 a vote, or you can set up however much you want it, a vote to cost. And people can watch the performances and vote, or watch the performances and engage in that way. I'm going to recommending the film America's Most Unwanted. I'm interested. You got me intrigued, Miranda. Okay, let's see. This is just plugging our Let's Talk Prevention curriculum, which is 14 modules, and it's about youth-led. It's about like social emotional learning and different aspects of growth that we can communicate to young people in terms of preventing runaway and homelessness episodes in the future. If this is something you're interested in facilitating or talking to young people about, you can partner with a local school or an after school program, other avenues that we talked about earlier about connecting with young people, especially during this month, and highlighting and centering the voices of young people. So this is another way to engage. So I know I said earlier that we talked a little bit more about Wear Green Day, and this is that. This is just a little share of the national events that we'll have going on in the month of November. So on the 1st, we'll have a social media blast. You'll be able to change a profile picture on Facebook or Instagram, TikTok filters to show, like put over your face or put over your photo and use that as a way of spreading awareness of the month. The first week of the month is Education Week, where each day we'll deep dive a different topic that intersects with youth homelessness. And we would be really, really excited if you engaged with us during our Twitter chat, which is on November 5th, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And so just follow us on Twitter. We'll be tweeting out questions about the intersections of our work, the work that we all do in our communities and youth homelessness, and asking some deep questions that we would love your feedback on and love to hear how you respond. We'll be doing lunch and learns throughout the month, similar to our partner call. Hopefully they're informational, but in this setting, it would be discussing issues of piecing runaway and homeless youth, and I'm really excited for those as well. We're going to have some partner organizations on there. National Resource Day, November 2nd. And so throughout the day, we'll be highlighting different resources and organizations and their programs on our social media. And those are organizations that are youth focused and support young people. Wear Green Day, like I said. And throughout the month of November, we'll have people lighting buildings and throughout the country lit green. But on November 17th, we're asking people to light a green light if they're available or they're possible, if they have that in their capacity. The last thing I want to touch with you on is that I mentioned this long ago in our first slide, that if you're hosting a collaborative event, a way to make it seem more unified is NRS material. And so it can be multiple organizations involved, but there's like a clear branding and a clear concise, like consistency across the platform. And so feel free to download NRS materials and education to distribute at your events or to drop off at schools, to drop off at places where you think young people might be, or at offices that you think could find this information important. You can find them on our website, along with everything else we talked about today. This recording will eventually go up on our website as well. Again, I keep clicking the wrong slide. But this is my contact information. I'm Maria. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm excited to hear any questions that you might have. You can feel free to drop them in the chat. Oh, you love the curriculum? That makes me so happy to hear. That's a big part of what I do. And if you ever want to talk about it, I'm all ears. I also love our curriculum. The curriculum can be found on the website. Yes, it's under the prevention link. Is anyone feeling a little bit better about hosting hybrid or virtual events? Anyone still nervous? Any questions that you have regarding that? Thank you. I like the idea of Battle of the Bands too. I thought that was pretty good. No, I'm playing. I thought that was a good idea. And I think it's a fun way. You could even do youth band, like young people's bands in your community. And that would be a way of supporting young people in a very clear, accessible way. Any places in particular you recommend for raising money, or like organizations? Thank you. Thank you, Miranda. Eli, in terms of, you can do a local organization in your community. NRS is accepting donations for our 50th year celebration, turning 50. But any organization that works with young people, I think, is a good start. We share out on our social media pretty regularly organizations that are doing like the hard work in this field. And so any of the organizations that we're posting about are involved in this work and doing great work. But I also encourage you to invest that money in your own community too. Thank you. Anybody have any other questions? If not, it was wonderful talking with you today. Thank you for joining me during your lunch break. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you. And I'll be waiting on just for a few minutes longer as people jump off. But if anyone has any remaining questions, you can feel free to email me, call me, contact me if you don't have them now, but think of them later.
I have a question.
Sure.
Like the events around like lighting buildings or day and getting, I know that in one of the toolkits it mentioned that the facilities or buildings that are lit up would be showcased on your guys' social media on a specific day in November.
Yeah.
How do we go about getting you those images?
You can email them to my email. It's just mtaylor@1-800-runaway.org.
Really what the goal is for the like for sharing anything like that, whether it's a lit up monument or things for Wear Green Day, is we'll be actively searching through the NRPM 2021 hashtag. So if you do share that out on social media, it'll automatically get added to our feed and brought to our attention that way.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you for asking. Rosa, do you have any questions? Okay, just us.
This was actually great.
I have to go off really quickly.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
And that was cool how you added those platforms, and it seems like just